Hi guys, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the morning after. I am your host, Sharleen Joynt, and today we are recapping episode 6, season 16 of The Bachelorette, now starring Tayshia. And you guys know I start off every morning after with a moment that delivered, which is brought to you by Skip the Dishes. This week's moment that delivered was when Tayshia said regarding Ed versus Chase, "It's now on my radar. I formulate my own opinions. It's that simple. I go with my intuition and my gut, and I actually really trust in that intuition." This was just such a breath of fresh air after our last two bachelors, so Colton and Peter back to back, where it really did feel like each of them were running around sort of like chickens with their heads cut off regarding the drama among the women, and they would sort of run to whoever was just talking about whoever. And I know that Tayshia did confront Chasen twice, but what I loved is that it didn't feel like a confrontation. It felt like a conversation. She would pull Chasen aside and be like, "Hey, this is what I'm hearing. I just want to talk to you, talk it out." And it just sort of felt like she would talk to him and then drop it. She's just filing the intel away, and she's just trusting her own gut regarding it. And it's just sort of refreshing in its simplicity. I appreciated this a lot. So yeah, it was my moment that delivered. Next time you're craving something spicy to go with your Bachelorette drama, you know you can get it delivered to your door using the Skip app. So episode 6 picks up with the second group date from last week. So it's the second group date in total in Tayshia's season. And it's the grown ass man challenge. I thought this was a cute touch. Again, they're working with the bare minimum here, and I've got to give the powers that be some props on their creativity. And I thought this was a hilarious date. Bennett made a bunch of mistakes with the math and the spelling, despite, the Harvard references. Honestly, the mistakes were so ridiculous, like the limousine spelling. I was like, is he doing this on purpose? I had to wonder, but I also imagine I might spell out the word limousine more often than the average person because I recap this show. The guys start going after Chasen specifically. It turns out there's been some drama brewing beneath the surface, and we've never seen it because of Claire and Tayshia, and then we got the new guys come in. It's always interesting when you start to see the cracks in the veneer. Here we thought they were all just getting along great, and it would appear that they were not. Things start getting pretty interesting because they take issue with the fact that Chasen seems to be using the same words to describe Tayshia as he did with Claire, and so it comes off as him seeming like a bad actor and maybe just someone who is saying what he needs to say to stick around longer on this show. Now, having been there as a former contestant, I can say that the number one most annoying thing about a fellow housemate is fakeness. It does not matter if you don't even get along, or if you're just not similar kind of people, or if someone's a bitch, or if someone's dumb, or whatever. What is really annoying is fakeness. This really did stand out to me as being relatable. And it also made me wonder if there was some truth behind it. Even though it's not easy for us to tell with Chasen, we haven't seen a ton of Chasen, so it's hard to be really sure. I feel like further research has to be done here. I do agree that fakeness is super, super, super annoying in terms of being a contestant on this show. However, I can't help but think that if Chasen really were a wordy person and he really relied on words a lot to express how he's feeling, maybe he just naturally would have used other adjectives, and it's more so a reflection on how he uses words and less on him being fake. The best thing, honestly, about this entire date was Tayshia's connection with Ivan. She had great chemistry with Ben, but the conversation with Ivan was so sweet. You guys know I've had my eye on Ivan for quite some time, and so it felt like he was finally getting his moment. And when she gave him that group date rose, he just looked so thrilled. It was so cute. So it's the rose ceremony cocktail party, and right off the bat, Chasen thinks it's somehow a great idea to confront Ed in front of all the men. This was not a good move. I hate to say it, but Chasen, in these decisions that he'll make, sort of getting in Ed's face and then also confronting him in front of everyone, I recognize that he's trying to save face, he's trying to protect his character, he understands it's national television. However, it's clear that Ed isn't the kind of person who is letting him smooth these things over or is open to even talking about it. So while Chasen thinks he's protecting his image, he's only drawing more attention to the things that Ed is criticizing him about. It's kind of painful to watch, honestly. Zach C said it best during this cocktail party when he said, just bury it. Like, just bury it, move on. My favorite thing about this cocktail party was Tayshia saying, I'm excited about those connections. She was referring to the ones that she'd established, so say Ben. But then she said, but I'm also really excited for the people that I've barely scratched the surface with. This felt like such a stark contrast to Claire, where pretty much if it wasn't Dale she was talking to, she was like, oh, when can I talk to Dale? And it really feels like Tayshia, whether or not she is taking every guy seriously as a potential romantic partner, she's taking every guy seriously as a human being who deserves courtesy and time and attention on this show for everything that they've gone through to be there in the first place. The actual rose ceremony, no surprises here. To me, it was obvious there would be more to get out of Chasen versus Ed, so it was pretty obvious to all of us, I think, that they would both be sticking around. So now we're into group date number 1 of the following week. It's hard to keep track, but this is the first group date of the second week of Tayshia's part of this season. I thought this was a pretty hilarious date. Joe finally got his moment to shine. We saw how funny he is. I thought it was interesting that Ed pulled Chris Harrison aside after his name had been called to go up against Chasen, considering certainly he knew he would be competing against another guy in the ring. He had plenty of time to talk about his shoulders and how they have a tendency to become dislocated. And to me, this immediately seemed like a producer decision. He's definitely told a producer at some point, hey, I have damaged shoulders, this happens to them, I have a hard time throwing a baseball. Why would he wait until the 11th hour to go up to Chris Harrison? It felt like production wanted to get that on camera, and they also wanted to maybe sort of humiliate him a bit to make him do it at the last second. Finally, we have the cocktail party for that group date. This was pretty much entirely about Noah and his mustache, which I think everyone found more interesting than I did. He certainly looked way better without it, but unfortunately for the other men, the more of a big deal they made about Noah crashing their date and Noah potentially getting that rose, certainly the more likely that outcome would be. I feel bad for them, but at the same time, I almost feel like they made it happen for themselves by talking about it as much as they did. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Morning After. Be sure to read my Flare recap and my All the Pretty Pandas recap, which will come out later this week. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week here on The Morning After. Bye.